guys, my name is Meisha and I'm here to give you the 411 and spill the tea on everything US immigration. All you need to know, the ins and outs, busting myths, and telling you about the facts. This series, people been asking like, y'all, you know a lot about immigration. Do something. So I'm about to start doing something. I'm going to do episodes on topics. Bear in mind, I'm not an immigration lawyer, just an immigration enthusiastic. None of my advice can be used as legal advice, but rather stuff that you can find on Google and research yourself. I will give credible links as well. So join us on this journey, your new immigration journey. A visa. What is a visa? I'm not gonna act like I know it all, so I'm just gonna read what a visa is. So a visa is an official document or endorsement placed in a passport that grants permission to the holder to enter, remain in, or leave a foreign country. It specifies the duration of the stay and the activities that the visa holder is permitted to undertake during that time in that country, such as tourist, work, or transit visas. Now let's get into all the different categories of visa that the United States of America issues for non-immigrants and also immigrants. But let's get into that. Let's cover everything going on. People are saying, visit the US legally or visit the US legally. Let's talk about some ways how we can visit the US legally. Okay, so visiting the US legally can go through about, I would say, 11 or so different categories of visa, and let's get into it. Category 1, a visitor visa, which is otherwise known as your B2. Usually, most visas are granted B1 and B2. B1 is known as a business visa. So in your visa page in your thing with your US visa section, you'll see a B1/B2 visa. Your B2 visa serves as a purpose of traveling for tourist purpose only. Now, during this duration, you have roughly about 6 months, give or take, because you might be granted the 6 months exact or less than the 6 months to enter the country. If you leave upon the duration or the time less than the duration of 6 months, then you should be granted re-entry to the country. Y'all following me? To obtain this visitor's B1, B2 visa, you will now be required to fill out a DS-160 form and attend an interview at the US consulate or embassy. Of late, they have been waiving interviews, so if you already had a visa, you're just renewing sometime and nothing in your life has changed, then they will just ask you to just submit a passport and the visa will be returned in that passport. However, if you are new to this whole visa process, then they might ask you to come in and do an interview. This interview will consist of asking questions regarding your financial status, your ties to the country, just trying to create a relationship with you and what you're about within your home country. So you can Google it and find out more about form DS-160, otherwise known as your visa B1, B2 application. Category 3, since 1 and 2 was already B1, B2. So category 3 is a visa waiver program. So certain citizens of certain country, I'll try to put the countries right here, screenshot that, can obtain a visa by the visa waiver program. Technically not obtain, but enter the US by the visa waiver program. This visa waiver program is called the ESTA. If you hear somebody say, oh, you're entering on a visa or you're entering on ESTA, mean that you're from a country where ESTA is actually recognized. So the ESTA is an electronic system for travel authorization, and you get this before you travel to the country. But with your ESTA, you're only allowed 90 days in that country to do the same thing that you do on your B1, B2, which is tour or conduct business. So within that 90 day, if you leave on your ESTA within that 90 days, you should be good and you should be able to obtain obtain a regular B1, B2, or be in good standings with immigration to re-enter the US. Y'all following? Tell me if I'm still down and take notes. So category 4, the student visa, otherwise known as the F1 visa. A student visa is a visa that you obtain when you plan to study in the US, and you could show cause that, okay, I've been accepted in a institution that is working with the exchange program or a tertiary institution, because you can also get student visas for like high school, elementary, for private schools. Again, for private schools. If you're not going to send your child to a private school, you cannot obtain a student visa for a child who is not attending a tertiary school. You heard that in the back? Cool. Now you're seen as an international student. I think in some cases you're given a work permit for a certain amount of hours, but you can't exceed that hours on a student visa, just to keep yourself afloat. And you also have to prove that I can maintain myself on such student visa. Now, the form for the student visa is the I-20 form. You fill those out, submit it, and you wait for your acceptance. And then once you're accepted, and that student visa is now issued in your passport. When you come, even if you do have a regular B1, B2 visa, your
94.
will not say B1, B2, but rather F1. You're accepted in the country on an F1 visa rather than your typical student, your typical visitor and business visa. Alright, category number 5, the exchange visa, otherwise known as everybody's favorite visa, the J1 program. Now, the J1 program gives you a cultural exchange to visit the US, and you can participate in tours or a cultural experience, or as we know, you can work on that J1 visa. Now, when the J1 visa is applied to different categories of people, then different restrictions are placed on it. We could do an entire video on J1 visa, but for this video, we're just going to cut the surface. So the J1 visa applicants include students, teachers, researchers, or those who just have a thrill for cultural exchange. Y'all get me? Don't get me wrong, you can work on this visa. Other categories have other stipulations on this visa. So it's fun and dandy when you hear as a teacher, I want to go on a J1 visa, but then there's other little stuff that comes up that kind of hinder you from visiting the US again after a certain time, applying for citizenship or applying for an immigrant visa. But again, those will be discussed in another video. There are waivers and stuff that you can do, so it's not like it's the end of it. This category is a temporary work visa, which is your H2B, your L1, and your O1, etc. So we're just gonna scratch a few surface right now. So let's say you have a job offer from a company in the US, or you actually work for a company that has another branch in the US and they want to transfer you to that branch in the US, or they want to hire you at that job in the US. Then different categories of the temporary visa would apply to you. So let's say you would like to work in farming, or you got a little job in hospitality or something in the US, and you want to apply for a visa that works for that category, right? You would then apply for your H1B visa. That visa is for like specific occupation. So that visa is for specific occupation, to say that you can work in the US temporarily from X date to X date, and you can legally work and pay tax in the US. Cool. The L1, that's like an intercompany transfer. Let's say you work for FedEx in Manila or in Bahamas, and you are of an extraordinary wealth to FedEx that they want to make you a branch manager in Minnesota, which in Minnesota they've searched and they can't find anybody with your skill sets and your trustworthiness, so they want to bring you here. They can apply for an L1 and bring you here to work. Again, this is a temporary form of visa, but then they can also apply for a more permanent form in the future if it pans out for them. And in the O visa, that's people of extraordinary abilities. That's usually for like scientists or artists or somebody who can show that they've shown some form of extraordinary ability in the world, and they are basically an asset to the US. Yeah. So next category, a family sponsorship, which again is everybody's favorite, the green card. But this category can only be obtained through a form of relationship with a family. Another video, we're going to go in depth in that, but for this one, it's going to scratch the surface as per usual. A US citizen or lawful permanent resident, which means another green card holder, can sponsor family members for an immigrant visa, which would eventually lead to their permanent residency, which is a green card, which can eventually lead to citizenship. So for everyone saying do it the legal way, this is an option. Well, this is a more permanent option, if that makes sense. Next category, 90-day fiance, which is our fiance visa, which is our K1 visa. A K1 visa is granted to somebody who's engaged to a US citizen and can prove that they have a meaningful bona fide relationship. When this visa is issued, you have 90 days to come to the country and apply and get married. After that 90 days, you can now apply for your green card. There's a lot of twists and rigmarole between that, because if you do get married before the 90 days, then that's also flagged as red flag, because you should not stay here and get married before 90 days. So there's like a lot of rigmarole regarding that situation. So another time, another video. Next category, which is somewhat the harshest to speak of, asylum and refugee seekers. So if you're fleeing persecution or hardship in your country, you can apply for asylum or apply as a refugee seeker. After you have a case, you are given time to enter the US, and beyond what the media may say, you're given some form of resources to exist in the US, which sometimes may like supplementary housing and also food and healthcare, until you can now turn that into a green card. So after your refugee or asylum hearing, you can, after you have obtained an immigration lawyer, not me, an immigration lawyer. You can now turn that into an actual green card once you've won that hearing. Let's say it again for the people in the back of the room. You can apply for a refugee program or an asylum seeker program if you're going through hardship or fear of persecution in your own country. When you do get here, you're placed in the asylum program where you're given some form, might not be the greatest, but you're given some form of aid. After which you are given a hearing. Once you attend such hearing and obtain an immigration lawyer, then you can apply for a green card. Okay, so for the confusion that people are coming to the border, these people are coming on refugee program. Nobody's walking to the border willy-nilly like that. They're coming on some form of visa, or they're coming on some form of program. Okay, I gave y'all the tea on that one. That one I had to literally come closer so Uno can hear me in the back of the room. Cool. Medical reasons, traveling for medical reasons. If you need medical attention or medical treatment in the US, then you can apply for a specific B2 visa for medical purposes. You would need to demonstrate the need for this treatment and demonstrate that this treatment doesn't exist in your country, as well as you need to demonstrate the ability to pay. This is not a free ride, guys. You have to pay for this service. You have to pay your bill at the hospital, and you also have to pay for your visa. The visa is the cheapest part of this whole process, because bear in mind, healthcare is not the cheapest in the US. Bear that in mind. However, you might get a more thorough healthcare, but it's not going to be the cheapest. Just want y'all know. For now, I'm gonna end the visa ranting right here. And guys, I am begging you, if you know somebody who needs immigration advice, send them this video. Like, I will be posting stuff on immigration more, because I know there's a need for it, especially in the environment that we're in right now with this current election. I will be posting immigration advice. Bear in mind, I'm an immigration enthusiastic and I cannot give legal advice. I can only give stuff that you can find back on the internet, and I can also cite these websites if you need them. But if you need somebody who need immigration advice, feel free to like this video, share this video, leave a comment, tag somebody, and follow me. I'm trying to get to 1,000 followers, like, guys, so I can go live and do this stuff live for you. And also, you know, I got the travel deals, so when you get the papers up and ready and ready to travel, follow me for the deals. Bye, guys.